we got a new camera for this one. So, at least for me personally, I found the most whack part of transition to be the part where, you're fully done, you figured out your gender, that kind of thing, and you go off into the world. However, you realize there's still more to discover about yourself. This can manifest in a lot of ways that I cover in other videos, but this one is, well, about sexuality. Hopefully YouTube doesn't demonetize the video just because I said the word sexuality. Let's find out, we'll see what happens. So here's the deal. This video is about my experience with sexuality and how that orientation shifted and molded over time. This isn't a video about not safe for work content that would get this video demonetized. Instead, it's simply about whether I like girls, guys, non-binary pals, that kind of thing. That's all. So, the thing is, I think it's a really good thing to point out early on. Despite figuring out being trans quite young, and I admit that's a privilege, sexuality did not have the same path for me. Sexuality took many years of pondering and figuring it out, for many reasons, in fact. In this video, we'll go over those, from expectations to worries, anxieties, that kind of thing. So, to start the story, we gotta go back in time. We gotta go back to like 2007, 2008-ish. So around this time, on a hospital bed, long story, my egg cracked. And, well, I was like, oh, I'm a girl. Cool. So, while figuring out how to deal with that as an 8-year-old, and slowly, like, figuring that all out, there's a whole video about it, but anyway. Obviously, until that point, the expectation was that because I presented as a boy, that meant that I would like girls. So early on, I didn't really question sexuality that deeply. I just kind of went, oh, well, I liked girls before and now I'm living as a girl. So obviously I must like girls, which by that definition would have made me a lesbian, which I remember at the time I'm not sure if I could call myself that because of internalized transphobia. Everyone's favorite friend in the whole world. So as a result, it got a bit confusing. Very confusing even. Deal is that internalized transphobia for trans lesbians can be a bit of an obstacle. I mean, granted, spoiler alert, I didn't end up being a trans lesbian, but for those that are, do you know that internalized transphobia, and to some extent queerphobia in general, can kind of lead to you not fully letting yourself be yourself. So just letting you know, if you're a trans girl and you like girls, congratulations, you go lesbian. And you can use whatever label you want, by the way. So, here's the thing. After a little bit of time, well, I had a girlfriend. Congratulations, 12-year-old me. Yeah, so I had a partner for, I think it was like 4 years, maybe more. And for the sake of this partner's privacy, I will not state any personally identifying things. But all I'll say is that the relationship went pretty well, all things considered. But more and more, I wanted to do the stereotypical girl role. Like being the girl in the relationship in a stereotypical cishet society sense. However, that didn't work because she also wanted to do that. As in also be the girl in the cishet relationship. There was a bit of a conflict there. Me wanting to be the one to lean on the shoulder, but she wanted to lean on the shoulder, so we just ended up headbutting sometimes. It just made it confusing, and I was so unsure of what to actually do, when being all relationshipy. So, we gave it a best shot. I think we gave it a good try. And I, as mentioned in another video, famously got dumped next to a Kyoto shrine. No shade to her. I had it coming. I didn't do anything bad, but you know what I did do? I was a girl. And well, she wanted a boyfriend, and it became more and more clear that I was not a boyfriend, which isn't preferable for someone looking for a straight relationship. That's fair. I wouldn't do shade for that. That makes perfect sense. I'd probably do the same in her shoes. So now I don't have a girlfriend. Dang. So because I had like most of the time of me really figuring out this whole being a girl thing, I was in a cis straight passing relationship, which just means the relationship appeared like a cishet relationship. However, it was not. So as a result, I never had to confront sexuality because everyone just went, oh, yeah, date's a girl. All there is to it, which is a thing that people that are bisexual always have to deal with. That's a constant tricky aspect of the bisexual experience where people assume you've made your decision based on your partner. That's not the case. Someone's still bisexual if they date a girl, a guy, a non-binary person, doesn't matter. Are they still loyal to their partner? Of course. You know? But they're still bisexual. You know? The bisexualness doesn't escape and leave the body and ascend into the sky. That'd be a bit absurd. Crazy even. So, how did I confront sexuality when I had to start confronting sexuality? Well, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. That's how I got most of my transition advice. I think I turned out fine. However, I noticed something very quickly. At least back then, trans people were expected to be straight because the need to change a gender was too, like, conceptualized as swapping genders to date a certain gender, which is not what transition's about at all, by the way. However, I ran into something I didn't quite expect. The stereotype for trans people is to be straight, at least back then. And kind of is in a way. It's a bit complicated, but we'll get to that. So, whenever I watch YouTube videos of trans people in the early 2000s, all of them appeared to be straight. They had videos of their boyfriends, and at first that made me a little worried. Like, oh, can I only be trans if I am straight? And I wish to clarify, that's not the case. The case is that your gender and your sexuality work independently, and you're not more stereotypically trans if you're straight, and vice versa. You know, it doesn't actually matter. However, as for figuring out sexuality, it's a bit complicated. Suddenly it gets really hard. Like, what do I do? So I learned more about gender. I researched quite a lot, actually. Teenage me was doing everything she could to learn more about the nature of transition, gender, and the fact that gender is not connected to sexuality so directly. You know, you learn that your transness is so separate from your sexuality. So once I learned that, I'm like, oh my god, I can still like girls as a girl. However, I spent all that time researching that, only to discover something I didn't expect. Guys suddenly look kind of hot. In my late teens, I remember starting to think that. And I started using the label bisexual for a little while, because it's easier to do that when you're not sure. And that's fine, by the way. Feel free to if you're not sure. But more and more I ended up being more socially perceived as a girl. So now the expectation has flipped. I'm now expected to like men instead of being expected to like women. That causes some interesting interactions that can really affect the turn of a transition. When I got invited to parties, suddenly guys are the most interested in doing with me compared to girls. Girls wanted to talk to me about, like hobbies, clothes, the games we're playing, whatever, right? Just depended. So the interaction has changed dramatically. As I transitioned more, I became socially one of the girls in like a cishet sense. So now the expectation is to go date men. So suddenly, I'm getting attention from men, which I wasn't used to at that point. However, upon reflection, other than the one girlfriend I had, I never got attention from girls, really. Other than kindergarten crushes, but those don't count. Sorry. But thing is, I wasn't sure how to deal with that. That's pretty new. However, part of me lent into it a bit. Like, I feel bad, but I let, like, guys gift me skins in League of Legends, or I let guys, like, do nice things for me and that kind of thing. And I worried I led a lot of people on, and that's an error of my own. Why'd I do that? Gender validation, baby. It can feel validating to your gender suddenly to be seen in the way that cis girls are. Regardless of your sexuality, it can feel a bit gender affirming. At least that's why I thought I was doing it. So, high school finishes, university begins, I start presenting femme full-time. Because university is less rigid than high school. Depends where you are, but that's the case here. So suddenly, there's all sorts of people around me. And I'm starting to actually meet other trans people in my life that aren't like eggs or people just starting like me. That's pretty surreal. I involved myself in like queer communities, and suddenly I'm in the vicinity of lesbians. Funny enough, I never actually drew in the interest of any lesbians, which is, I think, really funny to look back on. So it was mostly guys that would, well, want to date. I got asked out like a couple of times during university. I admittingly rejected all of them. I'm sorry. They weren't my type, and that's okay. That's fine. However, as the years went on and medical transition began, things kind of shifted in ways I didn't expect. And around the time I started HRT, the way my body experienced sexuality changed pretty dramatically. Things that used to not be as interesting are now interesting. So on and so forth. So I started reading romance books, and I read this book, If I Was Your Girl. This kind of, it's made me realize some things. I won't lie to you. This one came in like a train. Like, I realized I couldn't pretend I didn't like guys. And that was a lot, actually. Because I did so much effort to overcome stereotypes and to say, no, I could be a trans girl even if I like girls. However, I spent so time advocating for myself in this sense, I didn't actually think what I wanted. And it ended up being jock guy men. What are you gonna do? However, an unexpected consequence of that. Have you seen trans memes lately? You might notice that it's been a weird shift in the assumed sexuality of trans girls. At least in trans circles. Less so cishet circles, I think. But in a trans circle, suddenly, the transbian as a concept has been born. At least as a word. It always existed. Far predates all of us. But, point is, it suddenly became more acceptable in a social sense for trans people to be lesbians or gay or that kind of thing. And by the way, that's so good. Love it. Happy for you, you know? I think it's so good that gender and sexuality are viewed more separately now, and you're allowed to just be yourself. That's so important. So important. However, suddenly I'm hit with the reverse expectation. So, presenting as a cis boy as a little kid, I was expected to like girls. I started presenting as a girl as a teenager, so I'm expected to like men. And then now in the trans community, because I'm a trans girl, I'm expected to like other trans girls and cis girls. See how weird stereotypes are? This just shows how we socially construct things really don't matter. Just do what makes you happy. Because chances are the thing you do that isn't a stereotype might end up being one later. Who knows, maybe in like 5 years, suddenly straight trans girls are the stereotype. Who knows? Does it matter? Not really. However, there is a little tidbit to that. Let's say queer community has a bit of a, not a sour spot, but a bit of a complication with topics related to men likers. And like, I do understand that in the context of being part of the queer community, a lot of legislation and bad stuff that happens to us is due to a lot of cis men. However, these mostly are cis men that are rich and in power. So, while I think it's important to understand that the patriarchy enables that behavior, it doesn't mean that all men are evil. I think that's a generalization and simplification of just everything feminism stands for. It's important to note that we shouldn't discriminate people that just happen to be straight, whatever. And we shouldn't discriminate random cis guys just because another cis guy called us slurs. You know? Just understand that some people are uninformed and they have room to grow, and that's fine. Don't let the ones that abuse that to walk over you, but also don't assume the worst in people. Here's the lesson with that. So where does that lead me now? Well, I explored a couple of sexuality stuff. I've tried dating a couple of guys. The experience is varied. However, I actually felt pretty lucky and fortunate. I was told it was going to be like a train wreck where like all the guys are going to be ultra transphobic. That didn't really happen actually. I tried using dating apps for like a year. This is like a while ago, but I went on a date with, it was mostly this one guy that I got to the point of going on a physical date with. And like, honestly, he was really sweet. I think I just wasn't ready for him yet, you know. So I admit, I did like him, but I don't think I was ready for that at that time. So unfortunately that ship sailed. We haven't talked in who knows how long. So I'll just let that be, and I'm sure he'll meet someone great. It doesn't have to be me. I've also met a couple of people here and there that I find attractive, and like the nervous person I am, I have done nothing about it. And that's on me. Yeah, it's not just lesbians that are hopeless. We're all hopeless. That's okay. The point is, I have room to grow. And so do you. And other people. And other people. And other people. That's okay. It's okay to grow. It's okay not to know either. If you have absolutely no idea what your sexuality is, that's fine. You don't have to. No one's counting. No one's... It doesn't matter, okay? So, because it doesn't matter is why it matters, I guess. Like, I mean, it's important to do our best to figure out what's good for us so we can make decisions that make us happy, but we shouldn't feel a pressure to do things that we aren't ready for. So, moral of the story, sexuality is kind of hard. Just a little. And that's okay. I mean, nothing's easy. Sexuality included. I know my sexuality adventure is a bit messy, confusing even. There's even a part in the middle of university where like I had a 2-month streak of thinking I was like a cool lesbian. Yeah, but then I read the book, so yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this little dive into all things sexuality with my experience. There's a lot I left out, obviously. I hope you enjoyed this video. We have a different camera this time, which is at a much higher frame rate. At least I think so. It says it's at 60, so that's good. And we're recording through a different program. And we have a different microphone. So if I get comments about the video or audio quality, I don't know what to do. But I try my best. Also, in a couple of days, a mic stand is going to arrive. So I will have a mic stand soon. I know holding the microphone is like a quirky YouTuber thing, but I've ran into more problems with it than I care to admit. So we're going to have mic stands later with a proper pop filter. And hopefully that makes the audio listening experience much nicer. So if you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more, you should hit the subscribe button because that's what YouTube tells me to do. And it's practical for the channel. It'll help a lot. And if you think you know someone that might benefit from hearing this, be sure to send it to them. Like, granted, obviously algorithm-wise I benefit from that, but it's important to spread information. Even if like you just want to summarize something I said and just let them know. Like, oh, you don't have to be a certain sexuality to be trans, you know? That's cool. Just do that, you know? What's important is for people to feel informed and to be themselves. At the end of the day, just be yourself. That's really it. Well, hope you enjoyed. And as usual, stay hydrated and know that you're valid. Thanks for watching.